Welcome to Tough Conversations with David Wood, where play meets depth. We help teams and high-performing leaders like you to master your tough conversations so you succeed in your career and in your life. When we avoid tough conversations, we stay small. Teams stay disengaged, conflicted, and ultimately end up quitting. When we lean in and master our tough conversations, they become the defining moments that literally shape our careers, our relationships, and our lives. So let's dive in and master your next tough conversation so you can be the leader that you would follow. Let's play. Welcome everybody to Tough Conversations with David Wood, and we're streaming this one live. I'm joined with Matthew Mitchell, who was introduced to me by a friend, Martin Root, who said, you should check out this guy's provocative conversation series. So I went and I saw him interviewing a woman about the Me Too movement, and I thought, this guy is bold. This guy's willing to say some of the things I might have been thinking, but I was a little too nervous to say. Welcome to the show, Matthew Mitchell.
Thank you.
Matthew's got over 35 years of experience in sales, business development, and relationship management. He's a subject matter expert in the areas of negotiation skills, heart math resilience, power messaging, and human potential. So he sounds like my kind of guy. We're going to talk about speak with love or not at all. I'm really interested in that. I think you can bring a new aspect to tough conversations that I haven't been addressing up till now. And before we get into that, I want to ask you about something you wrote in the pre-interview prep, which was how much effort you put into healing your shadow side. And you said this is what you don't want people to know about you, how hard you work to heal your shadow. What does shadow side mean to you for listeners who don't know and for listeners who do? And specifically, I want to know what aspects show up in your shadow.
Yeah. So I believe in candor, and part of what I try to model is what I encourage in others, and that was the basis for provocative conversations. Everyone's got a shadow. Everyone, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, anybody Abraham Lincoln, whoever you admire and love, they have a shadow if they're in the body. And so for people who are committed to living life in a certain way, and I am committed to that. I want to be an honest, caring, loving presence in the world, but I don't want to be a doormat. I want to be effective and powerful in my world. And so there's a very delicate balance. And before you can really engage that, you got to take a really hard look at yourself and see the parts of you that don't work, or the parts of you that are still hiding out in untruth or in fear or in anger. And so that desire to heal that was the impetus for provocative conversations. As you mentioned, the first episode is on Beyond Me Too. Now, I had a wonderful mother. I had 4 sisters I grew up with, and I have a wife. And I thought I loved women and knew women, but I didn't realize I was harboring a lot of resentment through this time. And I did the episode to heal my resentment of some of the current dynamics. The second episode, which we may or may not talk about, is on the black-white dynamic in this country. And I have several really intimate friends who are black. We've had very candid talks because of the trust and the love we have. But I realized I was harboring some racist beliefs. And so I did the episode to help heal myself of the stuff that I have not yet purged. So it's a very vulnerable look. And as you saw, we talk truth. We talk our truths, but we give people permission to express those. We don't jump down their throat if they say something that's not necessarily something we agree with.
I feel I'm inspired by that. And I notice I like you more and trust you more, knowing that, well, 2 things. 1, that you're willing to look at your shadow, and 2, that it's not from just what, the title of this episode is Speak with Love or Not at All. So if we're going to look at the shadow, let's look at it with compassion and welcome it and learn from it and heal it. And hearing you say that about the Me Too movement, I did an interview last week on the Me Too movement. You might have sparked something. And I realized, speaking with Saida Desolé, that I felt excluded from the feminine for so much of my life. The other people were dating. I wasn't dating. And I thought that to feel good and to be a man, I needed to be having lots of hot sex with hot women. And I think an againstness must have seeded in me. It's like I'm not included, and I'm grasping now. I want to ask you about something you said to me in our pre-interview conversation. You said, speak it with love, compassion, and respect, or not at all. So can you say more about that?
If you look at things like Fox News prides themselves on having these really direct conversations, but there's no compassion, there's no understanding, there's no caring, and they tend to vilify the people about whom they're speaking.
Yeah.
And I found that to be destructive. No, nothing is actually done. Nothing constructive is created. You just create more division. So I say, let's have honest conversations, but we do it with respect and forbearing. And the reason this is because I have a teacher that I am very, very committed to, and who I think has given me enormous counsel over the years. And he said point blank, speak your truth. But if you can't speak it with love, best not to say anything at all. Because, we're responsible for our impact.
I love this. I've been teaching tough conversations for quite some time. And I think what I've been doing is teaching the what. I've been teaching what to say and how to formulate it so that it's probably going to go well. But you bring up something really important, which is the how. Am I coming across? Is my frustration going to come through? Is my anger going to come through? Can I find the other person's innocence? Let's say somebody's, I just coached a client who's she's an executive client, but we work on the personal as well as at work. And her boyfriend borrows her bike lock, right? And doesn't give it back. She's got to go chasing it. So we had a great boundary conversation, and she had the conversation with him. She realized later she wasn't having the conversation with love because she had so much charge on it. She was frustrated. So that's what he was getting. How would you recommend someone handle that when they've got emotion, they've got charge? How do you access love, respect, and compassion?
Well, that's a brilliant question. So let me be candid about it. First of all, it's totally okay to say, I am feeling so frustrated. I'm feeling so angry right now. Keep it about yourself, okay? But what it's about is you committing to the knowledge that the person you're speaking to is divine at their core. There's something intrinsically valuable about them. And even though their ideas may be very different from yours, in fact, might be even abhorrent to you, they have a right to exist. They have a right to express themselves. And so you say, I'm feeling frustration. I'm feeling anger. Man, I know that you came into my life to teach me something. And maybe it's patience, and maybe it's forbearance, and maybe it's giving people, being more creative and thinking differently. You have gifts for me, and it's that attitude of what is the gift you have to teach me? What are we here to learn together? And you go that direction. So we may not end up agreeing. We may end up agreeing to disagree, but I'm not going to vilify you in the process. And I might say to you, Kenley, David, I don't think we have much more to talk about. We really shouldn't work together, or we shouldn't date, or we shouldn't, ally ourselves in this project. I mean, that's okay too, but I'm not going to say, go to hell, you miserable SOB. Let's say it's a politician that you don't like how their decision-making, what they stand for. I can say, I disagree with this politician's stand, his values, what he votes for, and I'm not going to support him. I'm actually going to go actively try to get him voted out of office, but I'm not going to vilify him, and I'm not going to hate him, and I'm not going to make him a bad person. We're different. And so it's about knowing where your lines are drawn. And when I do deal with him, if I deal with him directly, I'm going to do it with respect. I'm going to offer him respect even if he's not offering it to me. I'm going to model the behavior I want to inspire in him or her. So I know that I've come off a little strident in this interview, and it's an inevitable, thing when you're talking about these things. But that's not what I do as a normal rule. I try to always default to compassion and patience.
Yeah, which is the title of this episode. If you can't speak with love, respect, compassion, don't speak at all. So whatever your views, listeners, whether you agree with Matthew, whether you don't agree with Matthew, whatever your views, can you speak them with love, respect, and compassion? And if you can't, maybe hold on to it till you can. Matthew Mitchell, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, David.
You've been listening to Tough Conversations with David Wood. Now it's action time. Mastering your tough conversations will have a major impact on your team, your company, and you as a high-performing executive or entrepreneur. If you're ready, request a discovery session with me. at playforreal.life so we can transform your team, your company, and you. And if you've enjoyed this episode, I would love you to help me spread this message of tough conversations in a very simple way. Just leave a public review at playforreal.life/podcast. And you may hear me read it out loud and thank you live on a future podcast. Now, let's play.